You are listening to Sleeping in the Wild Stories. The soft and soothing life stories of animals living in the wild are told at nature's slow pace. Relax and rest on this journey. I am a sea turtle. My story began in a dark place about half a meter below a warm, sandy beach. For months, I waited silently inside my eggshell. During this waiting period, I could see nothing outside. The only thing I heard was the faint vibrations of the other eggs around me. We baby turtles wait inside the shell to emerge at the same time. We choose our moment of birth together. It's an instinctive harmony, like a rhythm embedded in the universe. While waiting in the darkness, I had a strange knowledge inside me. I knew where I needed to go when I was born. The coordinates of our hatchery, the positions of the stars in the sky, the play of the moonlight. It was all written in my DNA. This knowledge had been learned without any lessons, without any trial and error. It just existed, as real as the warmth of the sand I was in. My siblings began to wake up at the same time. I felt them. I felt their shells beginning to crack, their tiny claws struggling, advancing with almost no strength, but with boundless determination. We were rising together. When one started, the others followed. It was as if there was a mutual call, a mutual permission. When the time came, I too moved inside my shell. With a tiny claw still developing, I scratched the top of my shell. Once, twice, 3 times. I tried, I listened, I tried again. This was the first real movement of my life. It took hours to break the shell completely, maybe more. The concept of time, deep down, had no meaning. There was only movement. There was only progress upward. Grains of sand rained down on my broken shell. Each grain felt like a piece of an infinite world. My surroundings were still a dark, silent, unfamiliar tunnel, but the knowledge inside me was my guide. I knew where I needed to go. Upward. Always upward. As I rose through the sand, shifting, the pressure eased. The grains became looser. The air wasn't as hot as the sand. A slightly cooler break above awakened all my senses. And then, the surface. No light, but there was something. It hit me. Cold. Air. Outside. Air. My eyes, my unopened eyes under their heavy lids could only register a faint difference in light. Perhaps moonlight. Perhaps stars. Perhaps just an artificial difference. Proof that my organs of sight were functioning. It was a cold night. The sky was full of stars. When I looked up, if you could call it looking, those lights sent me their greetings. Each point was the echo of lights in the distance. Some were older than me. Some had perhaps never been born, but their rays were still being carried by photons halfway through their journey. But in that moment, I didn't need to grasp all this cosmic complexity. There was only one thing. Sound. The sound of waves. I heard it for the first time. A calm, repetitive, soft sound. Wave, song, breath. All together. It was as if it was calling me, as if it had been waiting for me to arrive. For thousands of years, that rhythm had hit the beaches, receded, and returned. And now, at this very moment, the call of that sound was hitting my waist. I set my feet in motion. I began to cross the beach with tiny steps. Each step in the sand was an effort, but that effort felt natural. My claws moved automatically in the right way. It was as if all this life, thousands of generations, had been a dance planned in advance for my claws. There was a faint light in the sky. Moonlight. As baby turtles, we find the moonlight. Because moonlight illuminates the sky above the sea. We choose moonlight, not artificial light. For millions of years, this light had guided us in the right direction. In our DNA, this preference was stored as a secret. Towards the moonlight, I left the beach. The sensation of the sand was now changing in my body. First it grew heavy. Then, in that moment of wonder, at the water's edge, it grew light. The salty water was cold but comfortable. The first time I felt it, a sense of familiarity awakened within me. It was as if I was returning, like going back to my own source. The water embraced me. Around my body, I felt the gentle pressure of the waves. At that moment, my life truly began. Life as a baby turtle was calm but demanding. Only a few of the thousands of hatchlings of our species reach adulthood. Death is everywhere. Birds, large fish, stronger predators. They all have their eyes open. Usually, fates were very much predetermined. But I, guided by that first light in a fortunate way, was among those who survived. My youth was a constant learning process. I enjoyed swimming near the ocean's surface. The sun's rays passing through the water warmed my shell. This warmth was crucial for a growing turtle. Since I couldn't fully regulate my internal temperature, this external heat accelerated my metabolism, supporting my growth. However, staying near the surface was risky. I learned to move quickly away from hunting grounds. The slightest shadow was enough to send me deeper. Birds were fast and hungry, but the water was my home, my shield. Every day a similar pattern repeated. Swim slowly, sunbathe, swim some more, rest. Most of the time I would find a safe spot for myself and observe the movement of the water. A piece of coral, the industriousness of a sea plant, a sheltered place behind me. These similar days soothed me. I was alone in the ocean. Being alone was our nature. Turtles do not live in flocks. We went our own way, following the currents, growing slowly. During this time, I learned about gentle currents, how to stay away from strong currents, where to find food, which plants are edible and which animals are honorable. Everything progressed simply and slowly. This suited my rhythm perfectly. When feeding, I initially took advantage of seaweed and places where small organisms gathered together. Over time, I moved on to larger prey. Small fish, jelly-like sea creatures, leaves of sea plants. Each one strengthened my immunity, but there was never any rush. In a month, I might have grown only a few inches, but these inches were cumulative. My exoskeleton slowly expanded. My claws became stronger. My swimming muscles became more resilient. Life revolved around me. Seasons changed. Warm periods, cold periods, storms, quiet days. But I, in the water, felt these changes only as slight variations in the currents. Once, a large shadow covered me. Fear spread rapidly inside me. I lowered my head. My claws quickened. Deep down, a fish, a creature as large as a human, passed by me. Then the silence returned. But this moment reminded me how fragile I was. But over time, these fears subsided. Perhaps as I grew, my outer layers thickened, and the fear lessened. Or perhaps the ocean's rhythm calmed all this speed and panic. Years passed, countless years. Night and day didn't matter. The water enveloped all this time. I simply lived. As I grew, I began to travel longer distances in the ocean. The life of sea turtles was full of migrations. But our journeys were not hurried. We went at the speed of the current. I could swim hundreds, sometimes thousands of miles. Yet this journey never felt long. In the water, my weight disappeared. Every movement was light. The things I encountered during migration appeared in gentle transitions. Nothing was sudden. Everything was slow. Small schools of fish found their way in the current, as if guided by light. I would watch them, but not follow them. I would simply observe, then continue on my own path. The silent glow of coral reefs. Color at these depths is indescribable. I only know it is beautiful. The coral structures hundreds of years old, much older than me. Some parts were white, perhaps diseased, perhaps natural, but the reefs were still life. Tiny fish hid among them. During migration seasons, I would sense distant vibrations, the whale migration. I never saw them, but I heard their voices, distant, long vibrations, carried through the water, traveling thousands of miles back and forth. The whales' songs, a mixture of pain and beauty, expressed what they sang because their hearts beat together. The refraction of morning light. Above, the water mixed with light blue. As the rays descended into the depths, they turned from yellow to green, and I felt as if I were merely probing between these colors. Each was a peaceful part of a meditative journey. Sometimes I went very deep. The water was cold, it was almost completely silent. In these cave-like areas, life was very different. Bioluminescent creatures carried their own light. Soft, sulfurous colors danced in the darkness, but I was too warm-blooded to go that deep. Quickly, I would return to warmer levels. Sometimes I surfaced. Briefly. Air was necessary for my lungs. As I rose, the sky seemed to come from a completely different universe. Clouds, wind, perhaps a distant shore. I would breathe and then return to the silence, return to the rhythm beneath the water. For me, migration wasn't about speed, it was about continuity. I moved slowly, but without stopping. Weeks would pass and I would travel hundreds of miles, but at no point did I ever feel rushed. The currents guided me. My head would turn in the right direction. It was as if I had a compass inside my body. This compass worked even though I didn't consciously use it. The world's magnetic fields, light patterns, even changes in the sea's salinity, all were my guides. For months I just swam. I could see other animals, but they were all on their own migrations. We didn't greet each other. We just knew the others were there. A kind of understanding was shared in the silence. One day, the taste of the water changed. The salt concentration gradually shifted. These subtle changes told me where I was and where I was going. I would transition from one region to another. Each region had its own character. Warm currents, cold currents, deep blue water, shallows turning green. Each region was filled with its own life, but I was always a traveler, always in transition, always moving forward. The years were uncountable, perhaps 5 years, perhaps 10. The measurement of time was not important here. Over time, slowly, changes occurred. The lines on my shell darkened. The young green turned into a deeper brown. Some edges felt slightly carved, but this was a sign of time. My fins became stronger. In the beginning, they were thin and flexible, but now the muscles became more pronounced. I could accelerate. I could withstand the pressure of deeper waters. I could make more subtle movements. And most importantly, a call began within me. The sign of adulthood was not outside me. Outside me, there was only a larger shell. Inside me, there was an unforgettable call. I remembered the beach where I was born. It feels strange to say this because there was no consciousness at that time, but a kind of memory, a deeper memory, existed within it. The sand, its color, even the direction of the wind. Even, very strange but true, the sky on the night I was born. This beach belonged to me, and now I knew I had to return. The journey took months. In the ocean, the currents guided me in the right direction, but the map inside me was more detailed. I knew this part of the sea. That memory had returned. Every current was familiar. Every variation in temperature brought me closer. For months, I just kept going forward. I saw other turtles. They were heading in the same direction. We didn't greet each other, but this silent arm-in-arm walk was almost like a family. We were all guided by the same call, the same memory. Then, one day, the weather changed. The taste of the water changed. I noticed the rhythm of the waves. There was something unexpected in the air. The smell of rock, the smell of salt, and underneath, the smell of earth. I was approaching the shore. A day later, the beach appeared before my eyes. It wasn't an unfamiliar place. I knew it. Every detail was etched in my memory. My siblings, even though hundreds of years had passed, were born on the same beach. The sand was not the same. The world had changed greatly, but the smell of the sea was the same. I came ashore. For the first time in a very long time, I came ashore. My body had never felt so heavy. The water carried me, making me light. The sand, however, offered resistance with every step. I couldn't move quickly, but this slowness was natural. Slow was what was needed. Finding a suitable spot on the beach was instinctive. Deep down, in a safe area, the female turtles began digging into the sand. I joined the rhythm of the herd. I laid the eggs. This process was neither fast nor dramatic. Every movement was slow, careful, calm. My legs worked mechanically, but I wasn't completely focused on this. Perhaps I was dancing a dance taught to me by my mother thousands of years ago. The eggs were complete. Then it was time to return. The sea was calling. Life had to go on. When I returned to the water, a weight was lifted. My task was complete, and yet my life continued, almost in the same place. Time flowed like a river. The energy of early youth was fading. My fins were no longer as strong. Little translators, with every movement I struggled a little more, but the calmness in the water was still the same. In my old age, I preferred deeper waters. There the light was duller, the currents were gentler, and everything moved much more slowly. Time flowed differently in the depths. A day felt like a week felt like a month. The importance of measuring time was completely lost. My shell was covered in algae. This is natural for old turtles. As they age, their movement slows down, the water flow decreases, and this allows algae to grow. Each of my lines was like a mark of the years I had lived. Some lines were darker, some were lighter, some were cracked. Each one was a memory, a hardship, an achievement. I ate less, but that was necessary. My body no longer required much energy. Just existing was enough. For me, life progressed this way. Calm, slow, no rush, no tension, just the rhythm of the water and my rhythm. Sometimes I would see other old turtles. They too moved at the same pace. There was a silent understanding, a recognition. We did not greet each other, but we knew the other was there, that the other heard the same call, carried the same memory. The fruit, with its leaves, a little further away from the light's impact. Peace was everywhere. Now, as you listen to this story, I am slowly passing through the ocean. In my world, there is no rush, no sound, no chaos. As my breath slows, you synchronize with my rhythm. I am a sea turtle. My life has passed in a long, calm, natural cycle. If your eyes are heavy, you may close them. The story ends here, but the silent rhythm of the ocean continues. Thank you for listening. If your eyes are heavy, just close them. The story will stay here. It will remain silent and wait for you whenever you need to rest. Good night, and good night from Sleeping in the Wild Stories.